Hey everybody, Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast. Sorry for the bit of delay there. Had a bit of technical issues. As you can see, my web camera is going from the opposite direction because the one in front of me doesn't want to work at this moment in time. So we are sort of messing around with cameras and things, which I'll try and sort out mid-podcast as I am the professional and everything. But yes, so weren't here last week for obvious reasons. We've made our statement on our Facebook page on that matter. We're still open if anybody it's affecting wants to use this platform as a point, a vocal point. Please get in touch. Please let us know. You're more than welcome to just say what you need to say. We're here for you to use as you want. So tonight on this Geek Pride cast, I have a lesser amount of geeks. Josh and Laura are not with us, but we do have regulars. Peter Ray Allison.
Hey, how you doing?
Mark Canty.
Reading 5x5.
And Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Good evening, true believers.
Right, gents. So what have you been up to? What's been going on in the last week for yourselves in the land of geek?
Okay, who first?
No pressure. Joe, I'll go on. I'll go on. Because I don't like to talk. Thanks, Mark. I've been obviously having a bit of fun with the last few months, trying to catch up on games, completing ones that haven't been played all the way through or probably abandoned from like a year or two ago. Last week I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition, which I've never actually really played Xenoblade before, but I was always told, it's such a good RPG, get it, have a go with it. And I was like, okay, I'll play it. And I thought, I'll do an hour or two now. It'll probably be on the back pile again. And I literally had to rip myself off of it about an hour before this podcast because otherwise I'd still be playing it. I'd probably have it in hand now while we're talking to be like, but it's one of them things that I recently played the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I have to admit I didn't really enjoy it that much. I'm not a massive Final Fantasy fan anyway, but I gave it a go and I wasn't that keen on it. And I got onto Xenoblade and I was like, this is so good. Why is it that there's this game that I got so hooked on, but I couldn't get hooked on a game that many people see as now like a modern day classic to a previous classic? I don't know, but it's one of the games that I've just really loved, and I've put in 33 hours on it so far as well in the last week. So it's taken a fair bit of time, and even a couple of days ago, the Outer Worlds came out on the Nintendo Switch, and I've been waiting for it to come on there because I quite like having my RPGs on the go now. So I was waiting for that to come out, and it looks awful on there. I will admit it, because it is a port. It's everything is downgraded to such a major extent, but it's fun. It's quite a good game, and it's I like the humor in it as well. It's like Fallout if they didn't take it as seriously. It has got that method, but just playing through video games, just trying to keep myself occupied, trying not to remember what's happening in the outside world. Obviously, we don't want to mention, especially the last few days, because there's been some quite tricky stuff. But I was just trying to think of things that obviously keep me occupied, keep me busy, and video games I think do just seem to have a great way of taking you away from the world that you're in. It gives you a chance to escape, to give you this new land, this new way of life, even if it is just for a few hours. And I don't know if you guys feel the same, but if I get into a game that I really do enjoy, I do feel like I am literally being taken away from this mortal realm, even if it is just for a short while.
Yeah, that becomes a disadvantage once you're married, trust me.
Yeah,
well, you stop playing that bloody game.
Pure escapism.
Just 10 minutes.
Pure escapism. Like currently, me and my brother are playing through a campaign of Rome Total War, and it's taken a long time because the way it works in turns, so it's effectively you can't do all your actions in the same time.
Oh,
because
man.
you've literally got to wait for the person to do theirs and then you do yours, because it, you know, the battles and stuff, the way it meshes up, it's all turn based on the campaign map. So me and my brother have been doing that, which I don't mind, because we sit there at Christmas and things like that and we play very long board games that literally take hours, and we, you know, half the time the other person's just sat there doing nothing, waiting for the other person to finish. So it doesn't bother me, but it's like, you know, getting to the point where, you know, starting at 10 o'clock, finishing at 2, 3 in the morning, being shattered the next day, you know, waiting. And the good thing about it is, the one good thing they do is that, so you can have some sort of action, is if the other person gets attacked or they attack somebody else, you can either go in as the AI, so you could fight as the opponent, or you can spectate, and the spectator can also help out the person. So what initially me and my brother were sort of fighting against each other, you know, whenever sort of barbarians attacked or different nations and things, and then we realized that we might as well just help each other out. So when you go in spectator mode, you can kind of sort of use the other person as sort of like a spy. Well, a spy is sort of a reconnaissance, and he can tell you when things are happening, and then you can gift them units so they can take, you know. So what I'll do is I'll go, right, whenever these skirmishers run, I'll give them to you, and all you need to do is make sure they are sort of harassing the enemy while I'm focusing on the main front line of infantry and stuff. It's really good. It's really good. I'm quite enjoying it. It's just that we're on turn 25 or something like that, and you know, we've been playing for days.
Matt, have you and your brother played the Battle of Polytopia?
No, I don't think we have.
It's an Android and iOS based game for the phones, and it's basically a symmetrical turn-based 4x game.
Okay, cool, right.
And you just take it in turns, and then it can really, and then sends a notification through to the other person as well and said, right, it's your turn.
Yeah, well, we do sort of like, there's a game called Warzone that a bunch of us used to play, and it's effectively like Risk.
Yeah.
But it gets very heated, and there's a lot of, you know, especially the free-for-alls and stuff, and me and Mike Barton, from formerly of the Game Overcast, and you'd probably see him. He does sort of VR League sort of commentary and stuff like that, but we always end up fighting over the same map and stuff, and it's like, what he'll do is we'll go, right, truce, so we're not going to attack each other, okay, he'll be all fine, and then he'll stab me in the back because I'm too trusting, and then he'll sort of, you know, and then I'll just send out an email telling everybody what a shyster he is and why you shouldn't trust him, and then he gets all offended that I'm trying to sort of sully his good name to everybody and stuff, and then you literally have a day's worth of text messages back and forth about, you know, who you should believe and who you shouldn't believe and stuff. And it gets very heated, so it's just like, yeah, very amusing. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm still hooked on the Old Republic, so that keeps me going. I am in fact grinding with cereals and stuff at the moment.
I haven't played that. I'm sorry, last time I played that, I think I got the level 50. I think, was it 55 was the cap? Can't remember when it first came out.
Oh yeah, no, it's up now. It's about 75, I think, it's cap.
Yeah, so I got there, and I done everything, and I got to the point where I was going to have to like do some super grinding, and there wasn't enough people on it to really make me want to do that, and I hate the grind anyway, so
Yeah.
I just didn't bother and stuff. I just went, nah, I'm not going to bother. So I enjoyed the storyline of it and stuff, and then that was it. I just sort of, I never really went back to it, which is probably for a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't care about grind. Give me the story. Give me the story. Why is my character invested in it? But grind, no, not bothered.
Talking about stories, gentlemen, you, Mr. Ellison, and you, Mr. Canty, will be joining me, Games Master Extraordinaire, tomorrow for our, well, it's not our first Dungeons and Dragons stream, but it will be, you know, the first one I've done. My first, yeah, it'll be my second attempt at it. I'm currently running the same one shot with a few friends to try and iron out some kinks and things. But I thought I'd try it out with you guys as well. There's going to be an additional character because I think Daniel wants to play as well. I'm going to have to tie something in. But yeah, hopefully you guys, because you've not played Dungeons and Dragons for about 20 odd years, have you, Pete?
No, I mean, like I played like the third edition, and yeah, it was okay, but
Yeah,
A few
it
changes.
didn't grab me. And before that, I played AD&D a few times,
yeah.
but I was never grabbed. I mean, then again, I love the Dragonlance books. You know, they were fantastic fantasy novels.
Like, I haven't played since, Dungeons and Dragons. We used to play Rogue Trader a lot with Ben Fee as a GM, but haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in a long time. And the mission, the one shot that I'm basing it on is something that I found online, and I'm not sure how popular it is or if people used it. So I was worried that Ben, who's going to actually play in it, might have heard of it. So I had to turn around to him and go, if I was to say this word, what would come after it? And he's like, I have no idea. And I was like, okay, so I don't think you've seen this before. So, because it makes a big difference, because if you know what it is, then you kind of know what's coming, and it's probably not going to be as enjoyable. Whereas if we're all noobs, so potentially it should be a good sort of story to it. Because if you know what's going on, it's probably not going to be really, it's going to be kind of boring, because it's going to be a little bit of combat to sort of get you involved into how you are where you are. There's going to be a lot of sort of like wandering around trying to figure out what's going on, why things are happening and stuff. And then there may be combat at the end, depending on the decisions you make. And not, now you might do something completely different, but there is sort of a potential end boss if you do sort of get there, but it depends. You might make a completely different decision later on, which might affect things. So we'll see what happens, basically.
No plan survives contact with the enemy, or in this case, no story survives contact with the players.
Yeah.
I once heard GMing described as writing a really good story and then watching them do everything you didn't expect them to and forcing you to improvise anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we did with Ben Fee all the time. It was just like, he never got to do his storylines because we were just going off on tangents and stuff. And it's like, I kind of learnt that because I was doing it with the group that I did Rogue Trader with effectively before. And it's like, you've got the story and you're kind of going, well, this makes sense. They should ask this question or they should do this. And they don't. They do completely different things. So they were going around asking about completely irrelevant characters and stuff. And I was like, trying to drop hints to sort of kind of go, you might want to talk about this. And then like,
Nope, no, they don't.
There's a bit in it where like my mate Russell, he's playing the dwarf, and he were like in the first battle, he's like, I want to climb that cliff. And I was like, you're in full plate meal. Are you going to climb the cliff? He says, I want to climb the cliff. I was like, right, roll me a 20. If you get me a 20, you can get up there. And I think he got a 19. And I was like, you get to the top, but you fall back down again. And it's just like, I mean, it's just like, but yeah, that's the sort of thing to do. It's just like completely just like, you're in full plate meal. That's a steep cliff. There's very unlikely chance of you getting up there. But yeah, he still wanted to do it. And then it was like, when he fell, he's like, I can still do my move, can't I? And I'm like, you've just fallen off a cliff. I went, all right, fine, yeah, you can do your move, because the combat didn't really matter. It was just a plot device. It's just a plot device to sort of kind of move things on. It was just sort of one that to sort of get us used to how to do combat, because like I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons since like effectively first edition, I'd say, and advanced D&D and stuff. But
yeah,
bit of a jump then.
Yeah, so I've not done it in a very long time. So the one thing that's slightly annoying me is that Roll20 has this sort of thing called dynamic lighting. And it's like you can sort of do fog of war where people can just see their line of sight, and if they move in or out of certain things, it grays it out. But for some reason, it wasn't working for them. They could only see the line of sight. They couldn't see the areas where they'd been to, if you understand what I mean and stuff. And it was sort of annoying me, because I thought it made it slightly more sort of visceral, because you were like, you weren't seeing everything, and you know things would pop out and you could get attacked by them and stuff. But they were just getting slightly frustrated because they were just kind of, well, I can only see this part and I can't see anything else. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll just turn it off and then I'll just highlight things that you can kind of, you could potentially see and stuff. And then it got to the point where they were so faffing around that we went, right, okay, well, you fight your way to the end and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of had to talk around it and stuff. So, yeah, improvising is definitely a DM sort of thing. And I'm not sure this is where my issue is, because I can improvise to a point, but they start asking, it's like they started doing things. And I can't tell you the story because it'll be something that you'll probably come across when you get to your part. But it's just like, there's bits in it where they do something and just like, What?
Yeah.
What?
That's my
What are you-
specialist.
Yeah.
That's my
What are you
specialist subject.
doing?
That's called breaking the GM.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
just
I
like-
think I think I'll have to watch some of this stream tomorrow because unfortunately, I've never really had a group of friends around me that really did Dungeons and Dragons. So it's not something I've ever played, but I so wanted to. So I will watch very carefully tomorrow, and I'd love to definitely join in on a future quest. Let's
Yeah.
just say.
I think I might do a count. It depends on how we go, and I'm not sure if I'll be a good DM, and there's no point of playing something if the DM can't sort of do it. and
Come
stuff.
on, you're an expert. You've already
No.
said that many times. You know.
But
You look
yeah,
like a
it's just like,
professional. It should be fine.
it's also
Professional, that's it. Sorry, yes.
it's all sort of very time orientated and stuff, but it's just like, I spent a lot of time looking into things, but like I've got I've got a book somewhere flying around with like 14 pages of narrative and things that could happen and stuff, but that was literally just scratching the surface. And I figured out, it's just like they could do a million other things, and I'm literally just going to have to do this on the fly because I know what happens at the start, sort of things you need to sort of figure out what's happening and what happens at the end, and then I've done sort of some like decision trees within to sort of try and figure out what you might do or what you might not do. But as it's been shown, one of my first sort of one, which I'm finishing off with them on Tuesday, is that they're not going to go along the script, and I was literally having to nudge them in certain directions because they were completely ignoring I'd say things, and the way the whole thing is going to go is I will say things and you're meant to pick up on certain things that are irregularities on what I'm saying, to tying into what but they weren't picking up on it, and then I was having to go, oh, that's a bit odd, isn't it? And then say that's not what I should be doing, because the DM should just be kind of going, well, do what you want. But because it's a one shot and it's very story driven, you kind of can't, it's not like you can go off on a tangent. So it's not like Pete goes, well, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to go off somewhere else. Like, well, tough, because this is where the story is, and you kind of need to go along this route, and it's sort of like, so that's one of the hard things I find. It's like trying to corral people into it and engage them as well.
Yeah, it's all down to motivation, getting the players motivated to actually willingly and want to investigate the plot that you've laid out for them.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of carrot and a bit of stick in the balance of the two. But then that's the magic of role-playing games. Literally, there is no limit to what the players can and cannot do.
Did you hear the one about the guy that was running? There's a kids version of D&D that you can use to introduce them, and he was running it for his son or his daughter, and three of their friends. They were like 8 years old, and he runs them this little adventure where they have to break into a castle and find the evil magician that's like stitching people together and turning them into monsters and things like that. And he created this whole encounter where they had to bust past this huge mutated monster, and in order to get to him to finish up, and instead of fighting him, they sat him down and they talked to him and they asked him why he was so angry, and they turned him into, and he actually ended up joining the party.
Oh, brilliant!
They
That's
walked
really
him
Nice.
through they sat there for like 2 hours. They spent an entire session walking through and psychoanalyzing the monster and making friends with him.
See,
That's lovely.
This is an
That is
intervention.
and that is a good sort of way to be a dungeon master, like, and I did an article on the website about it, but it's like when we did the Rogue Trader thing we did it for 2 years with Ben, and I think it was like 2 years with a bit of a gap in between, but we had effectively 2 years worth of his work, and we had a point where we went off on a complete tangent, went to a planet, decided that, we wanted to free this planet from tyranny, even though it was imperial tyranny, and we kind of didn't really want to sort of, the Inquisition came after us and stuff, but we had basically the local PDF, and he had set out a map, and there was APCs, there was PDF sort of infantry. The commander was basically telling us all to stand down, or we would basically be killed. And I think what his idea was that we would get so sort of put off by the sheer force of everything there,
Back off.
that we back off, get in our ship and bugger off and actually do the quest that he'd set us out to do. But we didn't. We rigged the Tannoy system because we needed new crews. We basically had an X factor for locals to come in and join our crew, and we basically got one of the ad mechs to go in, rig up a Tannoy. And I, because my my charm and my charisma was quite high, basically talked to the commanding officer and made him basically say shit that he shouldn't be saying, but it got tannoyed throughout the system. So he basically admitted to what he was doing and what they were doing and trying to destroy the planet. And then I basically, after that happened, I basically did this impassioned speech to all the PDF to rise up against tyranny and things like this, and, I got a nat 20 on my roll. Well, effectively, the equivalent in roll 20, I think it was 100 or something. I think they do it with the basically I started an uprising on the planet, and I was like, Ben's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to completely rewrite this now. So he had to go off and started doing, which he did a really good job. It was really engaging. It was really good. But we never got to finish off his quest, which is annoying because other factors came in, and unfortunately there was we got introduced new players, and some of the old players were getting annoyed that they had more sort of XP and they didn't have to go through all the crap and all the other things that you have to deal with being a DM. Unfortunately, I tried my best to keep it together, but they were just sort of and Ben was just like, I'm out now. I'm done. I was like, oh well.
There's only so much you can do sometimes.
Yeah.
Groups have like a natural life sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we forget we're all doing all sorts of different things. So yeah, it's really cool, and you can all still be friends, but it might not work for you to all be doing that thing because you might have just changed the way you look at things.
Yeah. Well, it's good, and like I said, he's a very good sort of DM and stuff. I think, and that's why I was very keen for him to do the be on this one, because he's always the DM, always, and it'll be good for him just to be sort of a player. And torment me for once, That being said, I wasn't too bad. I didn't really give him. I tried my best, because when I'm doing RPGs, I try my best to sort of engage a bit more, because I know it's hard work. I'm not as good. What he used to also do was he'd do text adventures with you, so he would do stuff over Facebook. So if you couldn't make it, he'd make sure you were tied in, and he'd do text adventures.
Nice.
And I was awesome at those because I could have time to think about what I was going to say, what I was going to do, and I felt like it was like one of those storybook ones, the fighting fantasy ones.
Right.
So it just sort of I could feel like I could engage in it a bit more. But when I'm the problem is if somebody turns around to me and go, "What are you going to say?" and I'm like, I just want to say something super cool right now, but my brain has crashed, and I'm just going, can't think of anything cool to say. And you don't want to sit there in silence because obviously there's a lot of people around you, so you say something stupid just to get it and move on. So it's just one of those things. It's just like but I
should warn you, I have been known to be that player that inadvertently breaks GMs.
Well, just don't in this one. If it's the campaign, I can understand. This one, just play nice, because
I'm trying to. I did it inadvertently. Like the time one of our GMs put like a big Dark Eldar murder construct in our way, because the idea was supposed to be, wanted to introduce a new character, we were supposed to kind of get creamed, and this character would swoop in and save us. And I said, I'm just going to try like a full-on attack. I was playing a death cultist, and I hit him with a power sword and a chainsaw and rolled nat 20s on both. Then rolled nat 20s for damage. And he started rolling dice, and he just went really quiet. And he got up and walked out the room, wouldn't come back for 10 minutes. And this thing was supposed to have like done all this sort of thing. When he started rolling locations and stuff like that, it just kind of I'd kind of hit it with like two swords, like throwing them, and it had just kind of come apart.
Yeah, it's also when you get sort of on things that you're not expecting, like my group. I should have expected, because that's what they just sort of started talking to some random bard in a bar, and then it was just like for no just because, and started really sort of like zoning in on this guy, and I'm like, I have got nothing for this guy. I just pretended it was like Gearsden, of Geek Pride fame, just pretended it was him, and just sort of kind of going on about being rock and roll and stuff, and it was just like, it was just like, I don't know what to do with him, so I have to throw him in somewhere at some point, but that's just the way it is. But I just threw in characters to make it a bit more worldly. Like there are people around you can talk to and stuff, but I didn't expect them to go that far with it and stuff. But yeah.
Turn around, there you are.
Yeah. Before we move on, I've got something to show the people who are watching on the live. If you're listening to this, you're going to have to go and check out either YouTube or Twitch or Facebook to see its majestic glory. But
this is not sounding good at all.
It's not sexual, I promise.
It's behind an OnlyFans paywall. Yep.
It's hot and toy-like, I'm willing to guess.
Oh yeah. Right. Super heavy as well.
Yeah, that's not sounding good.
Yeah, if you're listening to this isn't going to sound. It's so heavy. It's so heavy in my hand. Oh my god, it's so big. I don't know what to do with it.
It's so big and shiny and metallic.
Yeah. So this is the Hulkbuster. This is the Hot Toys Hulkbuster that I was talking about.
I saw your pictures of it yesterday, and it does look damn cool.
Yeah, and it turned up early. I've been paying it off for a very long time. And he turned up. Though the bastards hit me with a massive import tax. I've completely forgot about it. And then I got this thing. Your parcel's here. I was like, sweet. And they went, you need to pay £200 import taxes. And I was just like, what? What?
200?
Yeah, man. So it's because I'm not sure if it's to do with the weight or whatever it is, because it's heavy. But
it's value, I think.
Yeah.
And where was it sent from?
America. So it's America.
Jesus, that's crazy.
So yeah, it's awesome, and it lights up. This thing is, the only issue there is, the lights are all separate, so you got to go around, take off panels, switch them on and off, and it doesn't have a single button that you can just switch everything on.
But that money, you expect it to be like Bluetooth controlled with an app or something.
For that money, you expect it to be autonomous.
My girlfriend turned around and went, "Does it give blowjobs?" And I was just like, "No."
Yes, that's why
I get those for free anyway, so I should be paying for them anyway.
It's so big and shiny.
Yeah, they are big and shiny. Yeah, here he is. I was literally I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever thought in my entire life. This is amazing.
So what does your girlfriend think of it?
She just went, "Oh my god," and just sort of looked at me like, "Are you enjoying it, little boy?" And I was just like, "Yep, I'm enjoying it."
I can imagine the conversation being, how much did you spend on it? Well, hey, look at this. Look at what it can do. No, how much did you spend on it? Well, well, I'll show you what it can do. No, how much did you spend on it?
Look at those shoes.
What's over there?
That advert over there.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah, so
you're going to need a lot of conversations of why can you spend that much on me?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And
it does look so cool.
It can fit a 7th scale Iron Man in it. Now it comes with like a half bust, which lights up and everything. But you can actually put an Iron Man in it if you wanted to.
Cool.
But it's got lots of little silly things it does that, that's what I think that's what Hot Toys are good at, and they do things that have no real point. Like if you look at some of them, just have buttons. You can unbutton things and unbutton them, but you're not really going to do that. And this one just has like little sort of fins and stuff that, if it was real, would work if the boosters went off, or it's got like he's got this like these struts, so if he wants to sort of plant himself on the ground to stop the Hulk from sort of like, he can do that, and it's just like little random details like that which makes it awesome.
Does it have the Betty and Veronica as well? Those little satellites.
Oh yes, it comes with a little Betty and Veronica sort of like model.
Oh nice.
It doesn't come with like a big massive thing, but it's like a little sort of a little toy, so it's like in orbit or whatever.
Is that a paid upgrade, the version that actually deploys from the satellite?
But yeah, he's amazing. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, that's the coolest thing I've ever had, and possibly the silliest thing, but it's still amazing. It's just so nice.
That is cool, but that does come slightly behind. Have you seen the Fortress Maximus they released not so long ago, the full-scale Fortress Maximus?
No.
Relative to the proper Transformers, it actually comes up to my waist.
Wow.
I've got a friend who's got one. It's like when it's in battle station mode, you can put like Optimus Prime and like Hot Rod and all the full scale Transformers, the G1 Transformers, inside the garages and run them up the ramps and stuff.
No way.
It's nuts. Because being a double headmaster, then you have the head turns into like a full size Transformer, and his head turns into a little headmaster figure.
Oh, headmasters!
Wow.
Fortress Maximus, man, that was my friend when I was a kid had obviously a smaller scale version of it and stuff, but even that was freaking cool.
But you had to get that from the States. They never released it over here, I don't think.
Yeah,
they released Metroplex, but and Triptychon.
Oh
but
yes, it must have been Metroplex.
Yeah.
Must have been Metroplex.
Oh, I had Metroplex. He was cool.
Yeah, it must be Metroplex. But yeah, talking about old school toys, you see Cool Minis or Not are doing a Masters of the Universe game.
Oh god,
Yeah.
Take my money.
I'm not convinced. I know it's. I don't know why.
We'll see what the game mechanics are.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
I'm not a massive fan of the zombie side games, to be honest. I don't know what it is about them.
They can get stale very quickly. I've just got the space one, the sci-fi space one, and that is really good. I can't remember the name of the top of my head, but yeah, that is actually a really good game because it's basically the end of their kind of first season of Zombicide games, so they kind of got as much out of the mechanics as they can, to the point where you got one set of ammunition for one atmosphere and another set of ammunition for another. So yeah, there's loads of little stuff like that, but yeah, it's really good.
Is it still sound? Is it still sound based? As in, if you make sounds, they come towards the sound.
Yes, but if you are in an area with no atmosphere, you don't get sound.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little twitch to it. So yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I like it. But realistically though, you only need one Zombicide game, be it Black Plague, be it Core Zombicide, be it the sci-fi horror one. I really don't. I think if you had all three, it'd be just too much because it's basically the same game, just in different settings.
Josh just popped up and said, "Someone said Metroplex."
So I'm just pandering a little bit there.
Yeah. But yeah.
Talking of tabletop games, though, you know what me and you are going to be wanting to talk about next podcast, don't you?
Oh, no.
Have you seen what they're showing on Saturday afternoon on GW's webcast?
No.
You get to see what the new starter box has got inside it.
Oh, it's gonna. Oh, okay. It's going to be the new Necrons, and then you're gonna have the new bikes for the Space Marines, and you're gonna have the new sort of close combat intercessors and stuff, aren't you?
But I think it's probably going to be.
If we're talking box sets, can I just say thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for the beginners box set and the essentials kit for D&D.
Oh, that's something we need to talk about, actually, Pete. So what's the what's behind that? Because you were talking about doing something on the psychological effects of Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, okay. I've been asked to give a talk by the Nottingham Trent University as part of the Use on Stage project to give a talk about role-playing, and specifically role-playing in the pandemic. And looking at the psychological benefits of role-playing, how it's stress relieving, it is escapist, it just calms people down and acts as a kind of way for enabling conversation and maintaining social friendships during when we're basically all in lockdown.
Okay,
cool.
So yeah, so that basically that's what we're talking about.
Did they hear about this, or did you just say to them, "Look, I'm doing this"?
Well, it started about 5 months ago now, and this was way before the lockdown hit, and we need to talk about doing something completely different, looking at like gender identity and cosplay, because there's a lot of crossplay in cosplay. Cosplaying as a character of the gender that is not your own.
Yeah.
Now then, lockdown happened, and we was initially due to take place a few weeks ago. That never happened, funnily enough, because it meant to be me on a stage with interviewing some people in front of an audience. Yeah, that's not going to go down too well at the moment. So we kind of evolved it to be like, instead of use on stage, use on Zoom. And it was basically like the theme of being like life in the pandemic. And the basically main fact is, rather than presenting our information and the journalism as an article or like on the internet or in paper. It's instead presented as a presentation, as a talk, and and giving a more personal and open view of journalism rather than being very bland and faceless.
Okay, yeah, sounds really good. Just sounds really interesting, man. Is it going to be recorded? Because I wouldn't mind watching it.
Well, it's going to be open to all.
Oh.
Cool.
Recorded, probably. I mean, I'm not involved in that stage of it. I'm basically just been asked to talk. So I'm here to talk about it. So
if there's a link, let us know. Well,
definitely. Yeah, the more the merrier. Because it's something I've been role playing now for 35 years. No, I can't right. No, 30 years. And it's seen me through a lot of dark times. I mean, during the 90s, I was incredibly ill, especially at the start of it, to the point where I was hospitalized and I couldn't go out for a couple of years. And my main source of fun was gaming. I role-played, and basically during those moments when I wasn't like really ill and in pain, I was basically whacking orcs or shooting blasters and just generally having fun. So there's a lot to be said about the benefits of role-playing games. I mean, I was gaming during the time of the Satanic Panic. How like gaming was evil, and how like if your character died in a party, you died inside. That's bollocks.
Is this the same time where if you played music backwards, you were sort of would have satanic rituals and shit?
Yeah, basically like how if your character was a magic user, you could learn spells and become a devil worshipper.
Mm.
Or like the Monsters Manual was a guide to demonology.
Sorry.
Yeah, that is some of the things. I mean, one of the people I spoke to, I'm not going to name his name right now. It's actually an article on the BBC if you want to go and find it. It's there. But one of the people I spoke to was a Christian at the time and was living in a Christian retreat. Mm-hmm. And he was told that either he could leave. So either his books would have to leave, or he would leave, because they were not wanted in a Christian organization.
Wow,
and that was during the 80s.
See, it's that sort of hardcore line that sort of gives sort of religions a bad. There's some really really good Christian people out there. Any religion are, but there's if you're in something like fundamentalism in any form is just wrong.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, it's just one thing I could not understand. I mean, I've played with like Christians, Hindus, whatever, and they enjoy it. But there's some people out there that view religion, that view gaming or anything that relies on imagination and being open to possibilities as potentially dangerous.
I always found this funny that religions are very uppity about people having imagination about thinking of things that are beyond the realms of possibility, but they're happy for you to believe a guy died and came back 2 days later. There was someone that made an ark that was able to sail around the world for 40 days while this big flood happened. It's that makes perfect sense.
You're only allowed to imagine things when it's within certain limits. Control.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Dr. David Waldron, a cultural anthropologist from Ballarat University in Australia, and listen, that is actually one of the reasons why religions, well, particularly very fundamental religions, were against gaming or any sort of hobby which relied on imagination, because it opened up your mind to new possibilities and questioning things, and they don't like that.
I think if you're in a I feel like we're going to get into this sort of like obviously we're atheists a lot of I can't speak. I'm pretty sure
this is where it's going to get tricky, because I am actually Catholic.
Well,
so Seventh-day Advent hobbyists.
Yes, every Sunday we all live by the tradition to live, have fun, and hop, especially hop. But I was I'll try and keep this brief as possible, but I was actually baptized when I was a baby, so obviously no real talk of it. But I was. I've never.
Me too.
Yeah, I've never really been that strong in religion. I mean, I'd see myself following the Christianity to a certain degree. I'm not an atheist, I will say that, but I'm one of these people as well that it doesn't really matter to me what people think of beliefs, but at the same time, it doesn't matter to me what everyone believes in, because I'd rather you are your own person. You are.
It's a personal thing.
Have
isn't
to.
it?
Yeah. I mean, you follow what you want. I mean, I know someone who, no lie, he's actually registered as a pastafarian, and that is some of the funniest shit, because he actually got his driving license photo done with a colander on his head, because he can.
See, and that's what I like about that. No, I am very open atheist, and I spend a lot of time sort of ranting about it and stuff. But it's not like I don't sort of what's happened here? BBC News.
Oh, someone's yeah.
What happened there? There was something about the news.
Yeah, so that was me sending that. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, something just popped up on the screen there.
I think I've got a virus on my computer.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, but I have a lot of respect for people who are sort of like, they believe in something, and they're very much, that's my thing, and that, maybe that's their family thing, but it's not something they want to force upon you. Like I've got a good friend who threw out, when my father died, breakups and stuff like that. A guy called Alistair McNally I went to school with, and he is a very, very strong Christian, and his Facebook posts and his sort of Instagram, it's like, him going to church and doing like highlighting things in the Bible, and he has some really profound sort of quotes and stuff, and he takes a lot of strength from it, and whenever something happens, he's one of the first people who's always there. You know what, you're right, man. And he doesn't care that I'm an atheist, and he doesn't care that I don't believe in what he believes in and stuff. It's because it's his thing, and he's not trying to force it on. He doesn't try to force it on me. And he doesn't try to force it on anybody else. He's there for people who want to listen and people who want, and I buy into that. And I was like, yeah, that is completely cool. If you're not trying to force that onto anybody, then 100% that should be how it is.
But this is how the world should be. You shouldn't have to feel like someone is going to push their religion on you. That is why I don't like it when like you go out and say you've got like Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're coming up to you and they go, "Oh, could we have a minute of your time to talk about God," and things like that. And I feel bad, because as much as they're only thinking of doing what they feel is best, at the same time, you shouldn't be pushing religion on people. And at one or two times, I've probably said something I really shouldn't have said to them. I think one of my favourite ones was something like, "Oh, hail Pastor Lord," or something like that, and just to try and get them to go away.
It's just I just don't. I get stopped quite a lot when I'm in Manchester, and to be honest, I don't mind debating with them if they'll listen. And I've talked to a few people, and they're like, yeah, but what about this? And I can accept that, as they're not trying to force it on me. They've stopped me, can you, and then you see in their eyes go, oh, you're an atheist, and then they're like, oh, I can have a bit of a debate with you. But you get some of them who will literally just be like, you're wrong. How could you live like that? And as soon as they start doing that to me, I'm just like, okay, man, I'm just sort of, I'm happy to listen, and I'm very much open to listening to new things. And if somebody could prove to me that I was wrong, I'd happily do it. I'd love to believe in magic and things like that happening. Nothing would make me happier to believe that I'll see my father again, and I'll see my family and all this other stuff. It would make me, and I would happily just go, I was completely wrong. At this moment in time, I can't believe that. But if somebody was able to do that for me, then I would totally do it. But it's just people who try to force things on me with irrational logic that winds me up, and I'm just like, but you're not making any sense. You're just sort of talking about a book that you can be proven has had different iterations, is factually inconsistent throughout. And it's just like, if you want to believe in something, I buy that, because we can't prove that there's nothing there. We are all, to an extent, agnostic, because you cannot prove 100% that there's nothing there. But it's when somebody goes, you're wrong, and it's just like, all right, man, I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say to be here, but you're not buying into what I believe. And it just sort of, I had some really good times, and it's really weird, but my old house, a Jehovah's Witness came to the door, and he's a super nice guy, and he gave me some things. I said, look, man, he gave me this like literature, and I said, look, man, I just warn you now, I am an atheist, and this is probably not going to do anything for me, but I'll happily read it if you want me to, and we can talk about it. I said, okay, yeah, no problem, yeah, just have a read and stuff. And he came back the next week, and we discussed it, and I said, look, man, I just, I don't believe in this, and I'll explain why. And then he came back the next week with his daughter, and we were talking to his daughter and about what she'd like to do and things like that. And he kept on coming back, and I think because eventually he realized that as much as the chats were quite enjoyable, he wasn't getting through. He sort of stopped coming round.
Yeah, but I'd feel probably that same way. I'm happy to listen to someone. I'm happy to understand why they believe in something, why they follow something, because it's even when I was in college was probably the first time I was really interacting with people that were being out and out atheists. They were saying, I think this was in one of these like debate classes I was in, that, and they were talking about religion, and a couple of them just went, yeah, well, I'm atheist, I don't believe in God. And I remember the first thing I said to him was, what made you come to that decision? And one of them had such a great comment to me, and it does still stick to me now and again now, because he said that he remembers he was in church, and the first thing he said to himself was, if God is supposed to be with us, if religion is supposed to be here for us, why do I feel that he doesn't communicate to us? And it kind of made me think, well, actually, I can see that. I can see, because that people, like, you see all these people on TV and they always go, oh, God has told me this, or God has spoken to me about this. And maybe when he was younger, he probably thought, well, hang on, where's my time? When's God actually going to speak to me? And it was because he said, God's never spoken to me. I don't feel that God's ever communicated to me. Even when I've been in his house, he has not ever spoken to me. So how can I believe in someone? How can I give my devotion to someone who doesn't seem to want to talk to me? And it did strike, and I was like, I just couldn't say anything, and I just went, if that's how you feel, I said, that's fine. I would never say, God never spoke to me, so I don't believe in him. But at the same time, everyone is allowed their own opinion. If that's how you feel, that's fine. Yeah,
I'm just very, I'll say two things, but I'm very mindful about opinions being used to educate kids and things like that. Yeah. I'm just like, that's the one thing I don't like. I'm very much for religion being taught in schools, and other religions and stuff, all religions and stuff. I think you should learn those things. But I'm very mindful that, especially because in Northern Ireland do it all the time, that they use it for the basis of laws, and I was just like, you can't do that. In a scientific society, you can't use belief as a way to sort of to mold the world, and that's one thing that really sort of is a sticking point for me, because it's just like, if you don't want certain things to happen, don't let them happen to your family. So if you don't like abortion, or if you don't like equal rights of marriage and stuff like that, that's fine. If that's within your family, don't have abortions, and don't marry people of the same sex, and that's fine. That's completely up to you. That's your family. But when you start using that to force it on other people, and
you talk about legislating morality.
Yeah, and that annoys me, because it's just like, that's very much up to you, and I appreciate that in certain ways you're feeling like you're trying to save people's lives, and it's just like, it doesn't. I don't buy into that, and that's one thing that frustrates me. But the other point I was going to make is, I remember very vividly the day that I effectively lost my faith, as it were, and stuff, because I was brought up in a Protestant/Catholic family in Northern Ireland. So my mother was Catholic, my sister was Catholic, my brother was Catholic, me and my father were Protestants. And the idea was that, you had a mixed family, a bit more understanding. And I went to both churches. I went to Catholic church and I went to Protestant church. I kind of preferred Catholic church because it was shorter and I didn't have to go to Sunday school.
I like that, yeah. I preferred this one because we were there in 10 minutes,
It was shorter, and I got bread and wine. So, I just I got bread and wine.
Food.
But as time went on, things, I went from that to being agnostic. I was like, well, this is a very complicated world. There has to be a bit more to it and stuff. And then I became agnostic, and then the agnosticism started to really whittle out when my reading history. And then obviously Richard Dawkins came into my life, and then Darren Brown, a lot of Darren Brown stuff as well, and basically how the mind works. Was I was a massive believer in ghosts and all kinds of crazy stuff. Me and my brother loved that stuff. We had a ghost club when we were growing up, and we I
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we just sort of like we had a thing. We'd research ghosts, and we came from a haunted village, and stuff like that, and then learning history and effectively where everything came from, and I did a lot on ancient Greece and on Persia, and on sort of where all these foundations of these religions came from and stuff. And it started to sort of, the narrative that I knew was in their books, sort of like, I've read the Quran, and I've read the Bible, and I've read the Torah, and I've read I can't even remember. What's the Mormon book? Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I
apologize to any Mormons if you're listening, but I've read them all, so I'm just sort of like, I was really into sort of what's going on, and it wasn't marrying up with what I understood of history, and I was more inclined to believe what I was sort of being taught in history, because it had facts and dates and chronology and people, and there was very little vagary about it, because it was just like, that's how it was. And then when we tied that in with the science I was learning, and how world was coming about, and how old religions were, I slowly just started whittling away at it. And I found myself, the only thing that was keeping me being religious in any way, shape or form, was I wanted to believe there was somewhere that I could see my loved ones when they died. And it was the only thing that was sort of keeping me there. And I remember having a discussion with one of my friends. He says, man, that there isn't. And as far as we know, there isn't. Until science can prove, something, then, you've just got to accept that that's just not the case. And it was heartbreaking. But I was in Greece, ironically, in Greece at the time. I was in Kefalonia, and our villa overlooked Ithaca, which is where Odysseus came from, if anybody knows the Odyssey. So Odysseus. So I was in this very apt place for gods, and I was literally sitting there on the balcony of this villa, looking at Ithaca, the birthplace of Odysseus, and I was just like, I can't believe this anymore. I can't physically do it, and it hurt. It was like letting go of something that you'd sort of had inside you for such a long time, and it sort of kind of still hurts now, because you want to have that sort of belief, because you want to have that feeling that people are going to be there when you're dead. Death is a big thing. Death is a massive thing, I think, for religion, in that you need to have that. It's scary to think about when you're dead. What happens? Well, it's nothingness, but nothingness is very. It's scary. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is. And the idea of not being able to see loved ones and things like that, and it's horrible, and it's heartbreaking. And I wrote a poem about it at the time, and I was just like, it was just like this moment of clarity but heartbreak at the same time. And from that point on, I've been willing somebody to be able to prove to me that there was something, but I could never find any. And as soon as the more I was reading about it, the more I was reading about things, the less I could justify it. And as much as I understood why it was there, and I understood why people believe in it, and I understand why people hold on to it, and how I actually feel jealous that some people still have that faith, because they can, be happy in they're assured that they know where they're going and what's happening when they die, to whereas I don't have that. I just couldn't do it anymore, and it just got to the point where I was just like, well, that's it. And then people can say to me, they go, well, you know, why you've given up. You feel like you're sad because of this. You feel like, you know, this is something, you know, why would you do that? Why don't you just sort of, you know, give your heart to Jesus or Muhammad or you know, Ganesh or whatever sort of god you want. And my issue is that now I know, or I feel pretty certain that there isn't anything, well, that at least that science can prove at this moment in time. It makes me kind of want to do more with my life now, in the moment, instead of kind of go, well, if I die, I'll be able to sort of, you know, do whatever for eternity. Whereas now I'm literally, I've got, you know, I've got 30 years until the sort of the potential cancer bomb that runs in my family kicks in, and then I've got, you know, depending on how that goes, it's sort of, you know, so maximum anywhere between 30 and 50 years potentially to do something and make an indent on this world. You know, it's a legacy sort of thing that might sort of help or affect people around me, you know, something that I can have a family and stuff like that. And it's just like, whereas I felt like with a belief behind me, I wasn't doing certain things or trying certain things out because it was a safety net in a way.
You always have a second chance. You know that there's something coming afterwards, so you can take it.
Yeah, and that was it. And it's, you know, I do feel that the people who believe in something and have a really strong belief, and just hold to themselves, but are really like super nice, like my friend Alistair. And I've got a Mormon friend called Josh who lives in Salt Lake City, and you know, they really believe in what they believe in, and it's quite heartwarming for me to see them believe in what them, because, you know, they've got a nice life and that's what they believe in, but they're not forcing it on other people, and it's sort of that I like that, because it's just like, in a way, I kind of wish I could have that in a way, but it's like the sort of academic side of things, I just can't justify. I can't justify.
You can rationalize it inside your own existence.
And it's just sort of, it doesn't make sense to me, especially when you learn. You know, I think the clincher for me is like, it was like Richard Dawkins is a really good analogy of it, and it's basically about we've been around for 4.2 billion, and not that we've been around, so the world is 4.2 billion years old, if you believe in that science. Humanity is anywhere between 300,000 years old, maybe somewhere in between. I think the initial estimate was 200,000 years old, but they think they found some fossils that pushes up to 300,000 years old. So that's 300,000 years where, you know, Homo sapiens have effectively, of some sort, you know, bipedal sort of human creatures have been around in the world, which is a massive, is a tiny fraction of what 4.2 billion years is. And he does it in a way, and I'll need to try and find the sort of link, but it's basically he's got a piano in front of him, and he says, like, these keys here are the dinosaurs. No, sorry, these keys here are single cellular life, and it's like a big chunk of the keyboard. He says, these keys here are dinosaurs. This key at the very end is humanity, and it's like one key in the entire thing, and it's just like, and then that starts really chips away at it for me, because it's like, out of that long period of time, suddenly it's only then, and then it's when you drill down into that itself. So you've got 300,000 years, we'll say. Of that 300,000 years, the God that we believe, you know, Christians would believe in, we'll say the Jewish God, which is effectively the same as the Christian God and the Islamic God, but you know that, you know, Yahweh or God, he is 6,000 years old, about 6,000 years old. Maybe a bit older with some of the writings. So he's about 6,000 years old. Christianity's God just over 2,000 years old. Islam, he's 1,400 years old, I think, by their calendar. So you've literally got, of that 300,000 years, you've got, I can't even do the fraction for it, but you've literally got a small fraction where
this has been the truth.
Yeah, monotheistic gods have been in there. So you've got 295,000 years of a pantheon of different gods, different type gods, and then suddenly within that small fraction, you've got a monotheistic god coming from all spanning pretty much from Judaism, sort of kind of percolated out. Christianity's took apart from it. Islam, despite they sort of might deny it, do take stuff from that as well. And they got that from like Zoroastrianism from the Persians. They got it from certain parts from Romans. They got certain parts, that all sort of feeds in, and it all sort of like this melting pot within that small period of time. And for me, that was it. That was just like, I will, why is there suddenly, is it so important that in this period of time that is, this is why I have to believe God exists. And that for me, it was the end point. I was just like, well, yeah, right, I can't believe that anymore. I can't do it. I know my history. I believe the science behind the evolution of our species and how long the planet has existed. And that for me was it. It doesn't make sense. Again, though, I would 100% buy into if somebody could prove it to me. And it's not like I wouldn't be that guy who'd be like, oh, I'm not going to... I'm very open to being proven wrong if it's got a good science behind it or if it's got a good argument behind it and stuff. So if somebody gave me something, I would happily... My heart would explode, and like I would be... That would be so good if somebody could do that, but it can't. And as much as somebody can give me some beautiful words and can, really sort of make you feel better using scripture and hadiths and isnads and things, I just can't. I can't do it, and it's just one of those things. That's it.
This is still keeping kind of track, but I've got to think when people talk about religion and you're looking at all these different areas, because people can make a religion almost out of anything now. There's so many different areas, and it sounds bad, but I have read this, and it is something that has happened. There are university classes that have been happening in regards to religion, and they've been showing the Family Guy episode where they have the Church of the Fonz. Because this is what they do, because it goes to show that anything can become a religion almost by detraction, by the word of mouth. If you believe in something so much that you take it to another level, it becomes it's
Scientology is a big Scientology is the big one. And that is one religion I just have no sort of time for whatsoever. I am very much happy for people to believe in what they want, to be happy in what they believe in. Scientology and flat earther creationists, I'm sorry, I won't buy it in any way, shape, or form.
The flat earthers, I think, had the best one, because they actually put a message out at one point. They went, "Yes, we'd like to say a big hello to all the flat earthers all around the globe." It's like, sorry, you've really just messed it up on your opening paragraph. Brilliant, but this university, they were showing this episode, and they basically opened up the floor to say, why have we shown you this? Why have we shown you this in a religious class? And like a lot of the answers were coming up, such as this shows that religion is basically dependent on its followers, its interpretation. And they're even talking about, how over time some people see religion as one thing, and then as time's gone on, it's broken off into different divisions. Like if you look at Christianity, Christianity is not just one straight thing. There's so many different branches of where it goes to. Even like even Buddhism to a certain degree. Buddhism is like one of the oldest religions, but there's so many different channels, and people do use different areas. They take on different parts of it, and some people will take existing religions, but they might just say, I believe in one part of it, but I don't believe in another. And even when I was in school, my science teacher, he actually got asked by someone in my class once, because he wore a cross, and someone said to him, if you're a science teacher, how can you be religious? Which I thought, actually, yeah, come on, let's hear what the answer to this was going to be. This could be good. And he said he was religious because when he was younger, he read the Bible and he thought that the Old Testament was just stories and that the New Testament was what he should believe in. Because he saw that the story of Jesus, him dying for our sins and coming back, that was the part of religion he took. He didn't believe Adam and Eve because obviously we know that the earth has been around for a lot longer than that. He knew that there was obviously no giant flood around the earth. He knew all these things weren't true, and he just went, that's not what I believe. But it's that he said he believed everything from the New Testament. He believed the idea that there would be someone who would come and save us. And I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at religion, because, it's being a scientist, but also being a Christian at the same time. And it's, it's a lot of people say it can't work, but
that's the one thing that sort of gets me. It's like, I do know some Christian, especially in my school when I was back in Christian science teachers and stuff, and they would probably go along the same line. It's just that it doesn't marry with the history, especially some of the it's just there's the problem with the Bible is a lot of it's written after the event and it contradicts each other quite a lot, especially within the Gospels and stuff, and that's where the issues come with, because it's just like, if it's meant to be the Word of God, then surely the Word of God should be infallible and not wrong. But yet there's different things happening to different people. They all sort of have the similar storyline, but they have, they were written a long time.
It does feel a bit like it's an interrogation. They've all set that from, right, Matthew, tell us what happened. Well, it kind of began like this, and then
usual suspects.
When I get to John, right, okay, we've had 3 different iterations. Now, don't fuck with us. Tell us what actually happened.
But so what you're saying is it's the usual suspects.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then we find that Jesus didn't actually die because Jesus was Matthew all along. He's just he's like, yeah. If it's true, I'm now going to hell.
That's the other thing about history is that there are basically crucibles of history where there's been a cross point where it literally has affected the entire world. And they say that, certain things like the Battle of Hastings was a big sort of turning point, because obviously if the Battle of Hastings didn't happen or something, then you wouldn't have had the rise of England, and then England went to Britain, and then obviously the world, blah blah blah. But they say as far back as the Battle of Marathon, if the Greeks, the Athenians had lost the Battle of Marathon to Persia would have effectively taken over most of mainland Greece, and then any democracy wouldn't have happened. From that wouldn't have stemmed the advance of Rome, and Rome wouldn't have brought about sort of certain Christian ideals and things, and you wouldn't have had a Christianity, and we probably would have been a completely different religion altogether. And then you've got the point, you've got the Battle of what is it? It's a bridge outside of Rome. It's not Vimy Bridge because that's a World War Vimy Hill. It's begins with an M. Can't remember it, but it's basically a bridge in
Macedonia.
No, Macedonia is an area in Greek. It's like Milby Bridge or Millie Bridge or something. It's really bad. Doing history and you can't remember the name of it, but it's something along those lines.
There is a lot to keep track of.
Say it again.
Was it Merida?
No, it's just if somebody wants to Google it, type in sort of Constantine Battle of something bridge. Don't put something, but it's basically
Milvian Bridge.
Milvian Bridge, that's it. Milvian
Bridge.
There
we go.
Yeah,
them.
The Milvian Bridge is a massive turning point in Christian. A massive turning point in Christianity altogether, simply because before Constantine came about, the Roman Empire was still pagan, and he was basically fighting against a competing Roman emperor to take control of the both parts of the empire, which had split into 2 at the time. And he basically thought, right, I need something, and my gods, the pantheon of gods that they have weren't really doing him any favors at this moment in time. So he thought he would pray to the Christian god. And they had, at the time, basically a meteor came down, and it basically made the sign, which is kind of like an X with like a P on it. And what he did, he basically told all of his soldiers to use this symbol, which is an X with a P in the middle of it, as their symbol. And they won the battle. And because they won the battle, he took it as a sign, and he basically made the empire convert to Christianity. So he forcibly made the empire convert to Christianity. And because of that, that's how the proliferation of Christianity went across Europe, because of the basically Romans pushing it across the empire. And then that obviously moved into modern areas where it percolated through, into the Americas, into Africa and things like that. But if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't have a Christian Europe. You would have a pagan Europe, or you would have something else. It's so it's these crucibles of history that make massive changes within how we are, or who we are. That's what
you're talking like nodal points.
In
history, and they can send ripples out that affect far more than just their own kind of geographical location. It sends echoes into the rest of the world, really.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. I think it's stuff like that I love, and it's just like, me, I was just thinking about this today. It's just like, had I not sort of, me and my ex had broken up and things, I wouldn't have moved to Disley. I wouldn't have met my neighbours who are awesome, really get on with my neighbours and stuff. I probably wouldn't have met my girlfriend. And it's like stuff like that, certain decisions you make, how it affects everything. And
well, absolutely. What you're saying about then is my wife and I, my now wife and I, both live in Derby now, obviously. Now, we both went to the same clubs for years, for decades even. Went to the same clubs, went to the same place. We worked in the same company for a year and never met until we just randomly both went to a photo shoot, our first one, something we'd never done in our lives before. That was arranged for a mutual friend, and we met up and we married. But for like 15 years before then, we'd never met each other.
It almost says a bit like your own version of How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
We had all these coincidences.
But the thing is,
we had hundreds of opportunities for us to meet up.
Yeah.
And we actually went to the same clubs, same bars, same gigs, literally to work in the same company. And
I was in seat 124. Where was you? I was in seat 136. Oh, wow.
It literally was like that. It literally was that random.
Yeah, and it's just like
that's sweet. I like stuff like that.
And a part of you kind of wants that to be a divine hand guiding, that's really weird. Why would that have happened? It's odd, and I can understand why people believe that, because it's just like, in my mind, it's just coincidence. Unfortunately, that's it. But it's like, but I would, if somebody could prove that.
I'm atheist, but with a sideline of Taoism.
Taoism, yeah. Have you read have you read the book The Tao of Pooh?
I've read the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching, and also written Urban Warrior, the Spiritual Warrior's Urban Survival Guide, which is a really interesting book on like how to be translating like an ancient text into a modern day. But basically, there's no God in it. There's no religion. It's basically more of a philosophy of life. You basically just flow through life, taking the path of least resistance, not because it is the easiest route, but because it's the most natural one to you.
Yeah, that's really good. I read The Tao of Pooh, which is basically Taoism, but in relation to Pooh Bear. And it's so good. And it's just like, it makes so much sense, because Pooh Bear is very much a case of, he just sort of happy, leads his life, carries on, eats honey, and it's got some really good sayings and stuff, and it's a good book.
Of course he's happy. He goes around all day just wearing a red shirt, His bottom region is just completely open. He gets a nice little breeze as he's walking around. Yeah. Oh, hello.
If I did that walking on the street, I would be arrested.
Yes.
Well, that's why you got to have a red T-shirt on when you go out. That's why.
But it's just a weird
thing. It's
thing.
the black ones I'm wearing.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. But go red shirt. They go, oh, look at him. It's Winnie the Pooh.
When you get all the cartoon characters and they come out of the shower and they're wearing towels down there, but then they walk around with nothing naked on. You're like, what the fuck's going on? Are they actually naked?
I think Donald Duck always used to be the one that
got in the shower. You've got to dry stuff out to be a shower. Otherwise, things get sour when it becomes damp.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can go with that.
But what about the fact that Goofy takes Pluto for a walk as his dog?
Yeah, it's just weird. That's sort of like some sort of sex thing, you know, where you got people dressing up as dogs, isn't it? That's what that is.
So you're saying that Pluto's a furry?
Yes, I think he is. Or one of those guys who dresses up, who like sort of like dog play, they pretend to be
furries.
Yeah, puppies and things. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Like,
I just ruined for you.
From Taoism and the history of Christianity to furries and deviant sex.
Yeah, that's how we go. That's how we fly.
80 seconds. That's not bad.
Let's make a sharp right turn away from all this.
I wouldn't be brave enough. God knows where we might end up.
Right. This is definitely something completely away from topic. I think I've watched it about 4 or 5 times now. The trailer for the upcoming Tenet film, the new Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah,
and my God, this film, every time I watch it, at first I thought, I'm getting an idea of it. I think I know what's happening. And on my most recent watch, I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue what is going on here. But this is the thing, because the cinemas, as we know, mostly are still shut, but are due to be opening within the first 2 weeks of July. This film is due out on the 17th of July, so this is going to be the first big blockbuster, to start getting people back at the cinema. And yeah, I feel a little bit hesitant because obviously of everything going on, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I don't care. If I have to go dressed as bloody Mysterio, have a proper fishbowl on my head and everything to go and watch this film, I probably will, because this movie has just done my head. I was like, I don't get anything from this trailer. I'm trying to understand. I'm thinking, is this trying to be like a sequel to Inception? Is this trying to be some kind of weird time travel caper? Is this just some kind of acid trip that Christopher Nolan's just got drunk on his own power? I don't know, but I want to see this film so badly. I just want to watch it.
I saw the advert for it, and it's got a bit of a twist in it, but I can't remember what it is. Is it one of those sort of it's like they're doing things in reverse, or things
are happening in reverse, and then the best way I could compare it was literally an episode of Red Dwarf, the backwards episode. That was the thing. I've seen it like I goes, yes, this isn't a fight we've had, this is a fight we're about to have, and it's like
it's like consequences begat actions rather than the other way around.
But it looks so weird because it looks like these mask things that the characters are wearing, they have to wear them to not feel the effects of the reverse timing thing. And I don't know how it exactly works, but the scene, there's like a scene on the freeway where you got the cars flipping from an accident, and they're going back, they're swerving back, and they're going back into their actual lane as if nothing happened. And I was like, wow, that actually looked like such a good shot. But obviously the car that the main characters are in are still going forward. They're still going at the normal pace. It's like, that's just such great work. That's such great film editing. And
it's going to be another Inception, isn't it? It's just going to be another.
This is what I mean. I reckon it will be like another Inception. But
possibly I loved the Matrix.
Or a bit of both.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I got very much kind of a Matrix vibe from it.
But the thing is that this is what I've said a few times now. Cinema, Hollywood, they do struggle with ideas now. It's really hard to come up with a pure original concept.
They want to play it safe.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. But then Christopher Nolan, I think he's just gone like, I made the Batman trilogy. I can do basically whatever I like. And you look at his films, away from Batman, The Prestige is a film that I've probably rewatched about 4 or 5 times. I absolutely love that movie. Inception is really good. Dunkirk is a great movie. Memento is still one of them films that
I do like.
Every time I watch it, it still hits every time. But
that is very nicely done, that film, actually.
It's a
Have you watched it from like the?
I've watched the cut when it's like going from like, instead of beginning to end, it's end to beginning, and
that's the one.
It's so weird because it's, even though you think it make a bit more sense that way, it buggers up your mind even more, and it did get me. I can't remember. I don't think it was on the DVD of it that I've got, but I remember watching it. I've only watched that side of it once though, and it was strange. But at the same time, it feels almost satisfying because it's almost like you're taking this story and you're like almost like learning it again. You're almost you're almost taking in a whole new movie. But it is just strange. But this is the thing. Christopher Nolan, I think, is only one of these directors who could do a movie like this. He can push boundaries, but he pushes them more in terms of not from the visual standpoint, but how they play with your mind, how they affect you. And even when I watched Inception, I remember especially that ending. Can I say, one of the most talked about endings now of all time. Is he still in a dream? Is he in reality? Is he still in one of these layers? And it's one of the things that it's such a simple ending to a degree, but at the same time, it plays on your mind. You just think, like, what is the answer? What is it? And then that's when the film cuts off. You're like, I knew that was going to happen, but damn, it still gets me. But, yeah.
Cool. All right. We've been going on for about an hour and a half, so we'll wrap up soon. So before we go, has anybody got anything they want to share with anybody else? We got anything?
Okay. Oh, I've been watching Upload. That's two things. Brilliant series, really, really good series. It's a bit like the not Good Omens, the Good Place. We've got good in the title.
I've only watched 2 episodes of it so far, but it has got a lot of promise to it, and I am quite enjoying it.
It builds up, and there's the best where it really shines is where it kind of delves into the society of Upload, and what and the level of technology there and how it kind of integrates itself. That is really well done. Also, there's the character of Alicia, played by Zainab Johnson. It's just a joy to watch. She's unlike one of the other angels, one of the customer representatives, but rather than kind of being very meek and servile and just does whatever the client wants, she just kicks ass and just does not take any crap from anyone, even her customers. And there's one instance where they've lost the database, one of the actual customers on the hard drive. So, and the paying customer for that client is going to the dance and wants to basically have a dance with her deceased husband. And what's it? No, you've got to inhabit the avatar, and you've got to dance and make sure the customer and the client stay happy. So basically, Alicia's kind of dancing around, and in this as the client with the wife, and in the music that they're dancing to, as far as the wife is concerned, is some some old school 50s jazz. Alicia, on the other hand, has got some headphones on and dancing to some funk. And just dancing however the hell she was. And there's such a joy to that character that Zainab Johnson just absolutely exudes. It's just a brilliant film. I want to see more of that character. The only downside I would say of Upload is that throughout this entire season, it's been a sci-fi comedy with a mystery thriller vein running through it, very much on the down low. In the final episode, that switches completely and becomes a mystery thriller, but with sci-fi comedy elements. And it's such a shift in narrative tone after all that's happened before that feels really disconcerting when you're watching it. And you go from being a very happy and fun show to being something that's been quite a bit darker and not what you're expecting. And so you're thinking, well, okay, it's a bit funny in parts, but really that was a dark ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but I say watch it. Definitely watch it. You will enjoy it. It's just go on.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, because obviously you mentioned, you were almost saying like The Good Place, things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, The Good Place, I think it it does have a similar vibe to it. The only thing I'd say with The Good Place from what I watched of it, I've got to say it's definitely, one of my favourite recent shows. It's one of these shows that it has little edges of darkness, but it never goes into that territory. It's never too much, but the comedy itself just sticks out
Sublime.
so well, and it's just so feel good, and it's very rare to get a show. I think the only other show I could really compare it to is probably Pushing Daisies. That's a show that should have a dark underline to it, but it doesn't. It's fun, it's vibrant, it's colourful, but the last episode of The Good Place, I've still got to say, it does still upset me now if I think about it, because
absolutely,
it's one of them episodes that just, because it's this journey. It was only 4 series, so you didn't have a long time with these characters. It's not like Big Bang Theory that went on for over a decade, and then you're just like, oh, is it still on? But then you get to this final episode, and you've got these characters that you've grown with. A couple of them seemed a little bit one-dimensional at the beginning, but then as the series goes on, you start learning about them. You're starting to understand their motives. You understand how they obviously came to being dead. And speaking of religion as well, if there is a way that we can have any type of afterlife, I'd love it to be like The Good Place, just like you get an interview at the beginning, just to go, yes, you are dead. But the good news is you can have ice cream of any flavour anytime you want. Oh, yes, lovely.
The thing with The Good Place, though, is by its very nature, it was very deep. Incredibly, it studied the nature of reality, of morality and ethics, which you're going to get much more in depth with the characters compared to, for of a better term, the shallower nature of The Big Bang Theory. Yeah. Now, what The Good Place did was a stroke of genius. It was a study on ethics and morality, a treatise disguised as a snappy sitcom, and that is just the way the writers projected that. Was just genius. It was absolutely sublime.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Peter used the word treatise in the podcast, and that's how sophisticated we are right here.
And you were the one that looked professional.
Yeah, I know. There you go. Pete, trying to usurp my position.
I think when you look at the cast, in The Good Place as well, I mean, you've got Ted Danson. Now, Ted Danson, for over 40 years, he's been a headliner on many TV shows. He can do comedy, he can do drama, he can do like a scary part, he can do a much relaxed part, and he's just this person that you can just call on anything. Kristen Bell, you've seen her in Veronica Mars. She has got a very snappy, witty attitude. She is able to play a little bit of sass, but also can have heart. And then probably when you look at the other cast members, I can't remember the actor's name. It's really bad, but the one that plays Kevin in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well. Anyway. The one who's supposed to be like the one that's supposed to be the boss of the Bad Place.
Oh yeah,
Sean. That's it.
Sean.
Yeah. Because it's just when you think of the devil, you always have this idea. It's always this guy who's got this dark motive. He can't. He's so serious. It's always someone who just wants you dead. He just wants everything be his way. But then you see this guy playing the devil, and it's just like. It's just so humorous. It's just so funny. But then you hear some of the things he says as well, that he wants to grind the humans up or he wants to cut off their penises, things like that. And it's like, it's quite dark. But at the same time, he's just so funny. And it's like, when you're looking at like how this afterlife goes as well. And it's like, yes, we're trying to trick them into thinking they're in the good place, but they're in the bad place. And it's like, how many resets they have trying to go, this operation failed. Because it's like, yes, this isn't so much the afterlife. This is a pilot for how we're going to have the afterlife. And it's one of these shows, I think for years, people could mine it. You could get so much material out of this. And it's definitely one of them shows I think probably over Christmas I will rewatch again. But
I'm sad that it's gone.
I'm very sad that it's gone.
Are you not glad that it sort of did it end well? It wasn't like
I think it ended
perfectly. Yeah. And this is the thing. I've always said of a show, I'd rather it's a short and sweet show, but it finishes really good and it had a great momentum all the way through. Yeah. I hate a show that just carries on. I mean, look at The Simpsons. The Simpsons is one of my all-time favourite shows. And some of the newer episodes, some of them are good, some of them are decent, but I can't ever say I've really been anticipating a new Simpsons episode for probably about 20 years now.
They don't really link in together, though. They are basically just hit and miss.
The fact about a good story is it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that is what you need, a good end. You basically can just do a beginning, a middle, and keep going a bit until you just stop watching, because that's not satisfaction. A story needs an ending in order to be, to satisfy the reader, the watcher, the viewer. It needs to have that satisfying ending, which you go, okay, there's closure, that is the end of the story. So you can't just the beginning and middle and keep going until the producer says, oh, what? I mean, if you look at Babylon 5, That was right. That had a 5-year planned arc, beginning, middle, and end. Basically, all planned out for the 5 seasons. Then the producers turned around in midway, right, just at the beginning of the 4th season. No, we're only going to give you 4 seasons. Wrap it all up. So since he did that, he wrapped up the storyline for 4 seasons. End of season 4. That was how it ended. And then suddenly, just about few episodes before, they said, actually, no, this is getting really good rating now. Could you give us another season? And basically, he had to drag out a story for another season, for another 20 episodes. And you can tell it doesn't work. Yeah. It's really weird because this whole new... Sorry.
Anybody who says Babylon 5, I just think of that Spaced episode where he goes, Babylon 5 is a big pile of shit. Get out.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that's why you need endings and stories.
But there's so many shows that have done that. I mean, I kind of went off it in the later seasons, but Scrubs, I think, was one of the best examples because they got cancelled after season 7 and they really wanted to do one more to wrap it up. So I think it was CBS bought them for season 8 and they went, yeah, Joe, let's do it. And they actually had the episode, my finale. And it was like, come on, that could not say it anymore. Everyone's saying their goodbyes. Everyone's had this tearful, emotional feeling. And it's like everyone's going their own separate ways. The story's over. And then CBS went, yeah, let's do season 9.
Oh, yeah, they did it when they were in school.
And
they were in a school and stuff.
Yeah. And it was just so dragged out. And you could tell no one wanted to do it. And it was like, Zach Braff, went, yeah, Joe, I'll hang around. I'll do it. And then after I think he filmed the first 2, he then said, no, can you please write me out of it now? I don't want to continue.
Another example of that is Heroes. The first season was just brilliant. It had beginning, a middle, and end. It ended. I mean, all you need to watch of Heroes is the first season. Do not watch the remaining 6. I did, and it's just basically reset after every season. And there's no.
Yeah, but the original plan for Heroes was it was going to be every season was going to be a revolving cast, similar to like American Horror Story.
That would work. That would work.
Yeah, it was originally going to be. Obviously, this main cast was going to be the first part, and then the second part was going to be a whole new set of characters, whole new situation, and but because they went, oh no, everyone loves these characters, let's continue this story, and I think that was it. It was like, hang on, you've made the material just for that one season, really, and now you're really going to drag it out. And
basically by the end of the first season, you had a guy that could stop time, another one that could fly, someone that could have any other ability of anyone else, someone who could not die. And you're thinking, by that level, the power scale of each character was such that they had to keep resetting it, and they just became frustration.
Another superhero, I know obviously Matt's already said about time, but another superhero based one that I really enjoyed was Misfits when that was on, because that was just such a
I just dipped in and out of that. I didn't see it. My ex at the time watched it quite a lot, but I was super into painting toy soldiers at the time, so I missed it and never watched it.
It's really good, actually.
The first 3 series of it are brilliant. And it's what a lot of British shows I found have suffered with, a revolving cast. They're trying to continue the same story, but they're bringing in all new actors, all new characters. By midway of series 4 of Misfits, they'd basically lost the last original cast member, and they were then like, oh, we've got this new cast, though. Everyone loves this new cast. We don't really know them. No, you love them. They're great. And we're going to do a series 5 with them as well. So, sorry, what?
Actually, but Spoofs did that really well. By the end of the end of the 3rd season, they'd lost the entire cast, the original cast, and then just brought in some new ones. But that kept it going. But they had the one central character of Harry.
Yeah.
I'm not. But that was still one central character. That was still someone who had that thread from beginning to end.
He wasn't the core character. He was just literally the guy in the office who gave them their missions.
The thing is, oh, God.
No, I was going to completely change tack there, so you carry on. I was going to move something. Just in my head.
Oh no, I was just going to say the thing with Misfits though was when it first came on, I think it was just very addictive TV because it was unlike a lot of shows you'd seen. Obviously, there had been superhero shows. There had been these wacky, post-teen comedies which have really, taken up the airwaves at this time, especially like with E4 and BBC Three. They used to get a lot of these kind of caliber shows. But this was something very different. It was a great dark comedy, but it had a lot of thrills to it. There was some great mystery. There was a very dark themes, and it did explore some themes that you wouldn't normally see on TV. But then as time went on, it did seem to struggle, and it's what a lot of shows do. They get drunk on their own success, and they just go, "Yeah, we're gonna pull out another series. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that." And one of the worst storylines they did was when they changed a lot of the cast for series 4. One of the main characters, the one that played Kelly, who was basically the chav of the group. She had this power now where she had like superhuman thinking, so she was able to come up with plans and designs and basically could map out whatever she wanted. And so we got this person who pretty much only ever cared for herself. She could get into a fight very easily, and then because she got written out of series 4 because of some altercation, they then said, "Oh, what is she doing there? Oh, she's gone to Africa, dismantling landmines." It's like, what? How the hell would someone? Why would she do that? Someone who doesn't really care about anyone else. Yeah, no, she's saving kids in Africa by dismantling landmines. Okay.
Okay. We'll end on this one. Has anybody seen Space Force yet?
Not yet.
No. I've heard very bad reviews of it that say
I'm
it's
enjoying
one
it.
note.
I'm enjoying
You
it.
enjoying it, man?
It's not. It's there's not a lot to it. It is just sort of comedy, and it's it's just ridiculous. But it's sort of Steve Carell. Back in his sort of, it's got a lot of notes from like The Office and things like that, and it's got I can't remember his name, John Malkovich in it as a scientist, and the way him and John Malkovich sort of kind of work together is quite good, and it reminds me of a more comical Next Generation.
Okay.
But the story carries on throughout and stuff, but it has that feeling about it, and it's just sort of I'm quite enjoying it. I've laughed, I've lolled quite a lot throughout it and stuff, so it's not super special, but it's enjoyable, and I think it would be good. A good second season would be good.
I've heard a lot of people obviously giving it like talking very negative about it, giving it bad reviews. But the one thing I will say is, if you look at the American version of The Office for that first season got slated. It was not liked by a lot of people, but NBC obviously were getting such good ratings, such good numbers on it, and they went, "No, come on, let's carry on, let's do a season 2." And then from season 2 onwards, it became an absolute stellar show. It was one
changed, though. The thing that they did is like they had 6 episodes in the first season of The Office, and
which was carbon copy.
Yeah,
of
it was
the BBC series.
It was very sort of like you sort of watched it, and it was very like, oh, that's a bit sort of like uncomfortable and stuff, just like The Office. Whereas they went their own direction, I think, within these seasons, and it was more like slapstick comedy and things like that, which was good. It works for that, that and stuff. And I'm always down on there being loads of episodes and things, but things like that, I kind of like it that there's 20 episodes in a season and things, so you can kind of stick it on and just watch it, and it's just good. The odd really good poignant one comes out of it, and that's good. Okay. Had a good hour and 40 minutes on this, with some initial technical difficulties, but a very good chat, a very, very, very in-depth at the start, and then sort of kind of went, but very good. Thank you very much to everybody who was watching, and if you're on the podcast, thanks again for listening and subscribing. If you've got mates, make sure you get them to have a listen, subscribe. We need to get our downloads up, so make sure you download. But yes, thank you very much for joining us. I've been Matt Geary, and with me today has been Peter Ray Allison.
Like and subscribe.
Mark Canty.
Just tell other people about us. We need them.
Yes, and Jon Jo Cosgrove.
And we promise plenty of laughs if you do.
Bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.